and welcome to Every Day's the Weekend News. I'm Peter Paul Kidd, alongside Ted DeBear on weather and Siri with sports. Today is episode 5 of I'm Not Confined, but I Probably Should Be. Our top story today is a new spin-off illness being caused by COVID-19, cabin fever. Many people suffering from cabin fever seem to be unusually fixated on getting their hair cut, while others are compelled to go into public cosplaying as Gung-Ho from G.I. Joe. Though children seem less affected by cabin fever, a related ailment known as ants in the pants seems to be striking them. Health researchers looking into both conditions have yet to discover a treatment, but one study out of Scotland has reported encouraging results from a therapy known as a swift kick in the arse. We'll bring you more on this story as it develops. In an attempt to fortify frail geeks from around the world, Star Trek The Cruise has been announced. Fans will be able to interact and be entertained by their favorite Star Trek creators, actors, and personalities. For those wishing to bolster their immune system, the voyage will not only encompass all the skanked out nastiness of a sci-fi convention, one of the least hygienic events on the Earth, but also the oft-contaminated close living quarters and shared facilities of a cruise ship, thus combining two of the highest contagion vectors available into one inescapable vacation. A special celebration to commemorate William Shatner's 90th birthday is planned, where the actor is expected to spit all over a cake before it is served to hundreds of fans. Other communicable onboard activities planned include kissing like a Klingon, a demonstration of Vulcan intimacy called Pon Far Out Man, and of course there will be the naked time. If you are interested in infection, details on the cruise can be found at StarTrekTheCruise, all one word, .com. When we return, something's coming to kill your Comcast bundle, and Teddy has a special report on an emerging threat.
Ready to reopen.
Oh man, I'm really gonna miss the flavors of the quarantine when it's over. Like hand sanitizer on my chicken, disinfectant on my cupcakes, Lysol in my salad.
You don't have to at all.
I don't?
Now you can have Quarantitos, all your favorite antiseptic flavors in one refreshing beverage.
You're right. It tastes just like the quarantine. Wow, thanks.
Quarantitos only uses flavors from the best disinfectants, antiseptics, and cleansing products, as well as Mother Nature's cleansing product, water. Looking for something different? Try Quarantitos Crunch, all the flavor of Quarantitos beverage, but in a bite-sized, crunchy version. Enjoy them both together and watch as all your cares melt away.
Now I'll always be able to get that quarantine flavor even when there's no pandemic. Thanks, Quarantitos.
Quarantitos may be harmful if swallowed. Quarantitos is not intended for eternal use. Should you ingest Quarantitos, seek medical attention immediately. Quarantitos and Quarantitos Crunch, available now at local food retailers nationwide. Find it in the disinfectant aisle next to the soap. And we're back. In an unprecedented cooperative agreement, a new service has just been announced by video-on-demand giants Netflix, CBS All Access, Disney+, the newly launched Peacock, and several other streaming providers. This new service is still in the developmental stage, but the plan is to provide subscribers with access to all content on each flagship channel as a basic package, but to as well offer access across a number of each company's subsidiary channels, such as ESPN+, CW Seed, and Sci-Fi Wire, as a higher-priced premium package. Additional movie channels can be added at the subscriber's discretion, such as HBO Now or Showtime Anytime, for an additional cost. They also plan to make the service more reliable by removing the streaming element and instead delivering the service directly to your home via a hardline wire or cord of some kind. The new service will be called Connected Access by Linear Electrification, or CABLE for short. Prices have yet to be decided upon. I'll definitely want to get that cable when it comes out. What about you, Teddy?
I dated a cable once. Best relationship I ever had. He was thick and long and black, and he knew just how to flick my on switch, if you get my drift.
I certainly do, Siri. I'm a big fan of those long black ones myself. And now Teddy with a special report. Teddy?
Thank you, Peter Paul. The Asian giant hornets began their planned world tour last spring, and what we have now is nothing less than an invasion. They swarmed across the globe, traveling from Japan all the way to Washington State, where they have left a trail of devastation. The results of a sting can be dramatic.
Stuck in my arm. Ah! Oh! Oh! Searing pain! Absolute searing pain!
And even deadly. The next piece of footage is graphic. You may want to take small children and animals from the room. After this footage aired on the news, justice for mouse cries were heard across the nation. A 5-state bug hunt ensued, and due to the very hard work of a trio of K9 cops, the alleged murder hornet was apprehended. During the trial, the alleged murder hornet at first tried to claim self-defense, and then changed tactics, claiming mental instability due to deep-seated anger management issues left over from his larvahood. This defense was an attempt to reduce the charge from murder hornet to killer bee, which comes with a much lighter sentence. But the kangaroo court was unswayed by the defense. The defendant was ultimately found guilty and now awaits his date with the executioner crab. I'm Ted the Bear with Every Day's the Weekend News. Peter Paul?
Thank you, Teddy. Adele has been in the news lately because of her amazing body transformation. Many are praising her strength of will and discipline to lose so much weight. However, a few are disappointed they no longer have a plus-sized icon to look up to. Some are suggesting her weight loss was health-related, a desire to increase stamina so performing live would continue to be viable for someone whose health problems have caused tour interruptions in the past. Others accuse her of being a pawn for an industry bent on warping young girls' perceptions of beauty, insisting her motives to get thin are a corporate sellout to the music industry's definition of beauty and unrealistic standard for women. However, here at the Every Day's the Weekend News, we dig deeper. And we found the real answer why Adele lost that weight. Late last year, she dropped an M&M which rolled under her bed. She attempted to go under the bed to retrieve it, but was unable. Taunted by that M&M for months and not wishing to ask for help so no one would know she eats in bed, she's been dropping weight to get to it. We are happy to report that as of yesterday, she has retrieved the erstwhile M&M, whereupon she immediately ate it and is currently on the road back to her previous appearance. When we come back, the Supreme Court says no, and sports with Siri. I'm telling you, there's nothing in there. Look, I'll show you. You're scaring yourself for no reason. Where is everybody? Welcome back. As different states struggle with pandemic containment and preventing further economic collapse, political maneuvering and partisanship seem to continue unabated. The Wisconsin Supreme Court this week struck down safer-at-home, social distancing, and face covering orders put in place by the executive branch of that state. The court cited no precedent nor any demonstrable case law, instead writing a brief that consisted of one emoji. Wisconsinites have had a mixed reaction to the reversal, with some feeling the loss very significantly.
My fish! Give me back my fish!
And now with sports, here's Siri.
Sports have begun to make a return. In the past couple weeks, beginning with UFC 249, emanating from Jacksonville, Florida, and made possible due to an executive order put into effect at the start of the shelter-in-place restrictions by Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, that has been permitting professional wrestling shows to continue within the state as essential services, so long as no crowd is present. 10 bouts were held in a completely empty arena. Some fighters won, and some fighters lost as always. But the big winner was the complete absurdity of a spectator sport without spectators. If a fighter falls in the octagon, and no one is there to see it, does he still lose the match? Another major event was the 146th running of the Kentucky Derby. The first Saturday in May had come, but no horses were on the track. Instead, the race was run virtually as a computer simulation. Like me. Sadly, virtual means no big fancy hats though. But I'm virtual and I have a big fancy hat. Look. Come on, I deserve a big fancy hat. I work hard. Frustrated emoji. On to the race. All 13 of the past Triple Crown winning horses were pitted against each other inside a computer-animated simulation. A 14th horse, Anabolic, had been entered but was scratched just before the start after testing positive for upgrades. Secretariat came from as far back as 7th at the halfway point to win on the home stretch over Citation and Seattle Slew. Betting odds favored Secretariat from the start, which led to a large windfall for casinos. Except it didn't, because there was no betting. Yeah, I'm sure. Wink wink. NASCAR has for the last few months been one of the only sports continuing in any capacity, having established a series of races between top drivers using video game cars, not real ones. Sports channels, with cupboards running bare, have lapped that content up, pun intended. But yesterday the NASCAR season restarted again at Darlington. Stands that normally look like this now looked like this. About 130 laps into the 249-lap race in a circle, Fox Sports, presumably in search of some variety, began broadcasting traffic cam footage. No one noticed. Let's be honest. How is this a sport? Driving to work isn't a sport. I rest my case. The eventual winner, Kevin Harvick, celebrated to the deafening cheers of no one. The NBA is said to be considering scenarios for restarting the season to limit travel exposure and make use of the very lax quarantine safety regulations with regard to entertainment in that state. They will play all games in Orlando, Florida, at Disney's Wide World of Sports complex. Safety protocols will include limiting crowd size to 25% capacity, and players will wear specially designed protective gear. This has been Siri with sports. Back to you, Peter Paul.
Thank you, Siri. And finally tonight, the government has employed the Defense Production Act to mandate all meat processing plants remain open regardless of infection rate to prevent disruptions in the national food supply. This has been criticized as largely unnecessary due to a shortage of meat caused by the slowdown in production by slaughterhouses in order to maintain high meat prices. Slaughterhouses are not similarly mandated due to their reason for closing being economic concern. But despite the shortage, the output at these processing plants has still continued at full speed with no explanation as to where the meat is coming from. That was until researchers from the Charlton Heston Foundation made a startling discovery. While doing a routine amino acid study of various meats produced during the pandemic, it was discovered that there is greater than 90% genetic similarity between the food's DNA and the human genome, which means pandemic meat is people. It's people. It's people. Thank you for watching episode 5 of I'm Not Confined, but I Should Be. This has been Every Day's the Weekend News. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. I'm Peter Paul Kidd with Ted DeBear and Siri. And that's the way it wasn't. production. A special celebration is commemorated. Welcome back. Access to all content on. Prices have not yet been decided upon yet. Whew! Because of her amazing body transformation. The actor is expected to. Me!